Hey everybody, let me start this one by saying Happy Canada Day to all my Canadians, Happy 4th of July to all of you Americans. If you're watching this, it's either on or just past one of those dates, so I hope you enjoyed your time off. I'm certainly enjoying my Canada Day long weekend with this red beauty right here. This is the 2019 Chevy Silverado Trail Boss, and it's not going to be this clean for long. So in this video, I'm going to test that G80 locker out back, see if it's any good, and then we're going to see if the tires and suspension are any good here, and how are we going to do that? We're going up the Hydroline. We're going to find the mud. I'm excited. Let's get going. Let's take a look at the engine. Powering this Trail Boss is a 5.3 liter V8 making 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, hooked to an 8-speed automatic. Now this engine features dynamic fuel management along with stop-start. You can also get the 5.3 in the 2019 Silverado with the 6-speed and with just active fuel management, which is the old school cylinder deactivation setup. Right here you can also see we have a cold air intake on this truck because we got the performance package, which means we also get a performance exhaust. Take a listen to this. Before we go off-road, I'm on-road a little bit just to talk about this powertrain. So, as you may know, for 2020, Chevy has decided to offer the 6.2 liter V8 here in the Trail Boss, but for 2019, you can only get the 5.3, which is what we have here, and the power is enough. It certainly doesn't feel as robust and strong as the 6.2, and it's easy to fall in love with that big V8. This one doesn't have quite the character, but the power is certainly there, and then the one thing you have to remember is over here on the left of the wheel, we do have sport mode here. So of course that's going to make the throttle response a little bit more aggressive. That's going to hold the revs up, and let's pin it and see how it feels. Okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. If that was the 6.2, I probably would have been laughing hysterically and thrown back into my seat. And once you feel that power, it's kind of hard to really enjoy this 5.3. So basically what I'm telling you is if you're buying a Trail Boss, wait for 2020 and get a 6.2. The 5.3 is okay, the 6.2 is incredible. So this truck, the Trail Boss, is definitely more of a slow-speed off-road truck, and with these dirt tracks, it should do pretty well in the mud. But I do want to see how it handles with a little bit more speed on some big open trails. And the main thing I'm kind of feeling for is how the suspension does, because this is a 2-inch lift, but it's just a block lift. It's a very simple block lift, so there's no actual added suspension travel here. It's the stock suspension just lifted up on those little blocks. So it shouldn't feel that much better than a regular Z71 truck, but I am curious. We have Rancho shocks on this truck, so let's go hit some stuff with a little bit of speed, see how it feels. Okay everybody, time for high-speed fun. Let's rip across this field, and we're gonna make a couple splashies in the process. So let's see how the suspension does. Once again, I got Rancho shocks. They have different setup on the leaf springs. Not bad, definitely better than a standard Silverado. Here comes the big splash. Yeah! Oh yes! Oh, that was actually quite good. You know what? Like I said, you definitely feel the difference compared to a standard Silverado. This suspension does a pretty nice job eating stuff up. There's the limit though. You can definitely find the limit. This thing is no Raptor. It's not meant for high-speed fun, but you know what? The suspension, there's enough here that you can have some real high-speed fun with it and not be too worried about smashing yourself off one of these divots. One thing that I don't love on this Trail Boss when you're hustling it is the steering. I wish it had a little bit more kind of feeling to it. I wish it had a little bit more feedback. All right, we're back on my trails now, so let's just talk through this package a little bit more. So first of all, the Trail Boss builds on the Z71. So Z71, you're already getting that G80 locker in the back, you're getting skid plates, you're getting the Rancho shocks. So the big difference here is really the lift. That's really what separates this truck from a Z71, and the tires. And so the lift itself, you do get 2 inches out of the body, which helps you with your approach departure departure, and breakover angles, and I'll throw them all up on the screen right now. And while we're at it, actually, let's go ahead and take a look at what this truck scores on our TFL Off-Road Index. The Trail Boss scores quite well on the ORI. It gets 20 points for four-wheel drive, 20 points for a transfer case, 10 for all-terrain tires, 5 points for over 9 inches of ground clearance, 10 points for a rear diff lock, and because that transfer case acts like a center diff lock, for armor there is a front skid plate and a rear skid plate here. You can see them here. Approach and departure are both over 25 degrees. Breakover angle for this truck is not published. You cannot find it, so by default it gets 0. And there are no cameras anywhere on this truck besides out back. Now my subjective score, I'm going with a 0.7. I like the Trail Boss quite a bit. I think it's a pretty nice little package and a nice upgrade over the stock Silverado. So that brings us up to an overall score of 81.7. Now let's go ahead and see how the G80 locker works. And the one thing that GM does that's kind of different than everybody else is you cannot select the locker. There's no button in here or anything like that. Once your rear starts slipping, it will just sense it. There's a mechanical system in there and it will actually catch and then lock up. So there's no buttons. You can't actually influence that locker. It's just gonna automatically lock. And that is different than most brands. Most other companies, you actually get to hit a button up here in the cab. Now, you know what? I guess the pros and cons kind of go both ways. It would be nice to be able to be locked up before you get into a situation where you start slipping. That's the argument there, right? It's nice to have everything in proper four-wheel drive mode before you get into mud or into an obstacle. However, on the flip side of that, something like the Tacoma TRD Pro, it only lets you lock up once you're in four-wheel drive low. So it kind of limits you. You can't lock up in 4 high. So from that perspective, it's nice that the GM locker is always ready to work, but you cannot select it if you wanted to come on before you get into something. Okay, time to run through our staggered ruts here and see how this G80 works. So we're just two-wheel drive. Traction control is still on. So let's see how it acts. Once my rear wheel gets up there, now I'm hanging my rear passenger. Let's see. Spin, boom! Oh, there's the locker. So that's the cool thing about the G80. It's so pronounced. There it is. Yeah, it's so pronounced. The second you hang one of the tires back there and then it starts spinning, you just feel spin, spin, spin. Boom! The thing locks up, grabs, and goes. And you know what? It got me through there in two-wheel drive, no problem at all. So the question really becomes whether or not you like the fact that the G80 works all on its own. If you like to be in control, it's not the best, but if you're okay with it just doing its own thing, it's pretty great. And one thing I really appreciate, it's all mechanical. There's no servos, no electronics involved. It's purely mechanical, and assuming it's going to last a long time, it works pretty dang well. Now let's talk pricing, and we're going to examine the build sheet. Of course, this is all in Canadian dollars. So this is our 2019 Trail Boss. There's all the standard equipment right there, and the standard price, $54,500. Now here's all the different options we have. We have an off-road appearance pack. We have that performance package, which here in Canada is going to sell for $3,195 to get the cold air and the cat back. Does make it sound good. I'm not sure it's worth that price. That's totally up to you. Then we have a convenience package here, so we get all the fancy electronics on the inside, dual zone climate control, stuff like that. There's also a sunroof here. So anyways, it brings our total up to $71,925 for this truck. And of course, I'll throw the US pricing up on screen right now. All of this off-road equipment is important, but you guys know one of the most important things are the tires. Here on the Trail Boss, we get a set of Goodyear Wrangler Duratracs. They measure in at 275/65 R18, and these 18-inch wheels are unique to this truck. Now it's time to bury them in the mud and see if they're any good. And trust me, this 5.3 V8 still has enough power to get them spinning. Let's head to the Hydroline. Hydroline time. So first of all, we're going to put it over into four-wheel drive, of course, so 4 high. You can even be in drive getting into 4 high, which is pretty cool. Then we're going to turn traction control off. And then besides that, once again, I don't got to touch the locker, nothing else. We have hill descent control. We'll test that in a moment. That's it. Let's see how these tires do. I will admit, I've been up here with Goodyear Wrangler Duratrax before, and on a ZR2, they've done really well. You know what? These tires in the mud, I have no complaints. These tires on the road, a little noisy. Not too much handling wise, but definitely a little noisy, but in the mud, they bite. And so far, so good. They are absolutely biting. Beautiful. Just creeping through here. Absolutely creeping through. Good job, Silverado. Keep it up. Keep it up. Okay, continuing on here from a stop. Camera's repositioned. Beautiful. Yeah, you know what? These Duratrax really grab. Now, it has been drying out here. It's been very hot for the last couple weeks, but we did get lots of rain last night, so there's a bit of fresh down here. Not a ton. Can we hop up out of these ruts? Thank you. Thank you, Duratrax. That's always the key, I find, especially on this trail specifically, because it's so rutted out. I have sort of one main path that if the tires are good enough to pull the truck out of the rut, they're usually pretty good tires, and these Duratrax are allowing me definitely to get up and out of the ruts a little bit. So far as well, no clearance issues, although I usually end up testing the skid plates at the very end on that little hill climb because there's a couple loose rocks, one right at the bottom. We'll see if this Silverado clears them. Okay, here we go into the water. I'm leaving her in 4 high. It's been doing really well so far. My G80 is definitely going to be working on this one, I think. Let's see what happens. And dropping in. Oh, a little bit on the skid plate there. Little belly there. Oof, hello. There was a rock there for sure. Nicely climbed over it though. I don't remember that one from before. And now it's digging. It's digging. Oh, but she's doing it. Oh, but she's doing it. Oh, there's a rock on the skid plate again. There's another one. So 2-inch lift is decent, but it's not enough to clear all this stuff. Now up the hill here. Yes, nicely done, Silverado. That's what you got skid plates for, man. To be protected underneath. So that was pretty well. You know what? It came through okay. I kissed a couple rocks. I could have used a bit more clearance, but overall not bad. Now we'll spin around and we'll do 2 more things. We'll test out the hill descent control first of all, and then I also want to put her down into 4 low and just feel what the gear reduction feels like. Using it as I have been in 4 high, the power is there, but it's just not really strong. And you know what? I know I'm spoiled by the 6.2. I've driven a lot of these GMs with the 6.2 in it, so I know this is a perspective that, you know, of course, if you're putting up your own money, you might want to save a few bucks, but for my money, I think I'd have to get the 6.2. However, once I put this thing down into low, it should feel considerably better. So that should definitely help. Okay, now we're gonna test hill descent. So it's a button down here in my center stack. I turn it on, I got it in drive. Little light came on. Now foot off the brake. Let's see what happens. Wow, really nicely controlled this hill descent control is. And it's taking me down this hill incredibly slowly and grabbed really quickly, and it slowed down quite a bit. All right, back in the deep stuff now. Let's get a little bit of speed up. Yes, Silverado, chug it through, chug it through, chugging through. Yes, chugging through. Okay, now getting out of here could be a little tricky. Luckily, the air dam is also off this truck. These trucks normally have these big, massive air dams up front, and Chevy was smart enough to take the air dam off the Trail Boss, which is definitely helping as well. Okay, everybody, now I want to try it in 4 low. So we've already shifted down. I put her in neutral, traction control comes off. Let's go ahead and creep out of here. Here we go. Oh yeah, the gear reduction does feel nice. Oh yeah, really smooth. It's nicely creeping right now. Really nicely creeping. And this baby is definitely extra steady. Nothing slowing it down out here. Nothing at all. So capability-wise, the Trail Boss has done an excellent job. Nothing really slowed it down. I will make the same complaint I made before. Just after driving more off-road, the steering stays kind of numb. I wish there was more feedback. I wish there was more weight in my steering wheel. But besides that, it feels really good out here. It feels a little big, but it's a half ton. They all feel this big. It doesn't feel bigger than anything else, but it's really nicely just clawing its way through the mud. And for everything these dirt tracks give up on road, that mainly being how loud they are, they absolutely make up for it off road. At least I think they do. They just chug through everything. Nothing slowed them down. They barely lose grip out here. Yeah, you know what? Really a pretty decent off-road tire. So now that we're out, I gotta say I agree with the name. This truck is definitely a boss. These tires handle great in the mud. The 2-inch lift keeps the truck up and out. 5.3 has plenty of power, and with this exhaust on it, it sounds nice while doing it. So guys, that's it for this video. Make sure you go below, leave a comment, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and then come right back here to the channel as we keep on bringing you the latest news, views, and real world reviews. See ya.